So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this Cyprus Forum 2025 session called Powering Peace, the Bi-Communal Solar Future of Cyprus. My name is Michel Vedrenne. I belong to the Directorate General for Regional and Urban Policy of the European Commission, which is today's session knowledge partner. And it is my pleasure to have here with me Mr. Fikri Toros, Turkish Cypriot politician from the Turkish Republican Party, and Dr. Charis Psaltis, a professor of social and developmental psychology of the University of Cyprus. So, before we start with the questions, I will make a short introduction about this panel. So, and I will start stating the obvious, that Cyprus is a sunny place. Cyprus every year has more than 300 days of sunshine. And it is basically one of the sunniest European countries, and it is comparable to places like the south of the United States, like Namibia, northern Chile, the Middle East. So there is plenty of potential. So unfortunately, and despite this abundance, it is not fully utilized. And I'm going to tell you what is the situation here in the island. If we look at official statistics of generation capacity of solar energy per capita in the EU, Cyprus is in the 17th position of the 27 member states. The first three positions are occupied by countries such as the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium, which have about half the days of sunshine that Cyprus enjoys. Similarly, Cyprus is amongst the most expensive EU member states when it comes to household electricity prices. So according to Eurostat, in 2024, Cyprus was the second most expensive member state after the Czech Republic, with 36 euro cents per kilowatt. This is far above the 2 euro cents per kilowatt of Finland, or the 2.6 euro cents per kilowatt of a country that one could say is similar to Cyprus, which is Greece. A lot of this is due to the heavy reliance on international fuel oil, which comes to generate electricity, also to the energy isolation of the island, also to the fact that we need to purchase carbon emission trading rights and penalties because of the activities, the generation capacity activities. I think that, fortunately, there is widespread recognition on the island that an increased uptake of solar energy brings not only economic benefits, but increased energy security and stability. But this is not an easy thing, and it's not overnight that we can get to an increased uptake of solar. It requires significant investments in infrastructures and grid management, and it also requires a sustained investment in the energy capacity, continued installation of solar panels everywhere. This needs to go hand in hand. And then there is the technological challenge that we still need to address, that is, how can we align generation, which happens during the hours when the sun is shining and strongest, and consumption, which usually peaks during the hours when the sunshine is no longer there. So this is indeed a challenge, and we need to fully be prepared to maximize all our options that we have in our hands. And this includes collaborating with fellow Cypriots across the Green Line. Because in the current world, what we have heard before in this session and throughout the forum is that energy is no longer a resource. Energy is a tool for diplomacy, and it's a driver for conflict management. And this is precisely the idea behind the thinking of the European Commission when we proposed to the two communities the Bi-Communal solar power plant in the UN buffer zone. Could it be that just as coal was fundamental in the formation of a European Union back in the 50s, that we could help create with solar energy a peace project for Cyprus? This is the topic that we will be discussing tonight with our distinguished panelists, which I have already introduced to you. And the panel will unroll in the following manner. I will first address a question to our two panelists, individual, and then we will all address a common question. We will have final remarks, and then, if there is time, we will open the floor to questions. So I'll start with Mr. Fikri Toros. Mr. Toros, the Cypriot sun is a common good to Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots. Why, in your views, is a Bi-Communal solar project a good opportunity to build confidence?
Thank you, Michel. Please allow me to thank Nicholas and his team for their very kind invitation to participate in the Cyprus Forum on the second consecutive year. It's a great pleasure to be here, Nicholas. Indeed, the sun is one natural resource that no division can recognize nor obstruct. It's ubiquitous, meaning that it is island-wide, it shines throughout the whole year, as Michel summarized, and the availability of sun power is unconditional. This simple fact of the Cypriot sun carries a profound political message as well. It is what nature offers to our common homeland, we must learn to harness without the slightest doubt or hesitation. It is for this reason that I firmly believe intercommunal projects alike create added value that go well beyond what either community could achieve on their own. A Bi-Communal solar park, particularly the one that has just been developed by the European Union, is a unique opportunity offering exactly that. And it is our ultimate responsibility to seize this opportunity. Let me outline why and also the reasons and the ways in which it can contribute towards intercommunal confidence. First of all, it's about shared benefit. Today, both communities rely heavily on imported fossil fuels. And these are very expensive, very volatile, becoming rapidly scarce, and dirty. A joint solar park would reduce costs for households, industry, tourism, and all other businesses on all parts of Cyprus. When people begin to experience these tangible shared benefits of renewable energy, and when people begin to explore the dividends of joint collaboration and cooperation, confidence will no doubt grow on its own. Let's have a look at a few intercommunal projects that we have managed successfully to put into implementation. The Mia Milia Bi-Communal sewage treatment plant, which is governed by the two Nicosia municipalities. The interoperability project that enables GSM mobile phone operators cooperate with one another, enabling their subscribers to use their mobile communication devices across the whole island. The permanent interconnection of the two electricity grids on both sides of the divide. Today, whenever there is need for a supplement as a result of a fault, a technical fault or failure, the other operator immediately compensates for the loss, and no Cypriot even notices that there's an issue associated with their own electricity board. And very recently, as you know, the protected designation of origin of Hellenic and Halloumi was also a very successful intercommunal project in full benefit of all Cypriot producers of this very important cultural product. So all these examples that I've just given are clear testaments of what intercommunal projects can do and how they can sustain and benefit all Cypriots simultaneously. Secondly, let's face it, it's shared responsibility. Climate change does not recognize buffer zones. Rising temperatures, water scarcity, extreme weathers affect all Cypriots across the whole island. And by managing a solar park together, both sides of the divide would share responsibility for the whole island's energy security, environment, and most importantly, decarbonization. This sense of partnership will strengthen solidarity, as it will enable us to see ourselves as partners and not as adversaries. Thirdly, it's about shared systems. Every solar panel installed, every grid connected, every kilowatt exchanged across the divide is more than just energy. It's a link of interdependence. And such interwoven systems are indispensable ingredients of federalism, federal partnership, as they offer both communities a stake in each other's stability and societal development. This is why the European Union strongly supports projects of this nature, for they create not only infrastructure, but make cooperation habitual. So the Bi-Communal Solar Park is certainly a very powerful confidence-building measure. And it transforms the Cypriot sun into a bridge rather than a dividing line. It demonstrates in very practical terms that cooperation is not only possible, but also profitable, responsible, and necessary. Confidence building in any peace-building process is absolutely imperative. There is no peace-building process that has resulted in success without confidence-building measures preceding it. The case of Cyprus is no exception. The sun above offers a high impact on intercommunal confidence. Therefore, the two Cypriot leaderships must seize this opportunity to power our island, to power its sustainability and its resilience against the consequences of climate change. And last but not least, to empower the confidence-building processes that we all strive to pronounce, to deepen, paving the way to a federal partnership in the future of Cyprus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toros. Now, Dr. Psaltis, you are about to publish some very interesting research. According to this research that is about co-management of natural resources in the context of the Cyprus problem, it appeared that a majority of citizens saw the joint solar power plant that the Commission proposed in the UN buffer zone as the preferred option amongst several peace packages. Would you be able to explain a little bit what this research is about and why this was such an interesting result?
Sure. Thank you, Michel. And I want to thank the organizers for the invitation to contribute to this very important forum. So yes, we're just publishing very soon. Actually, you are the first to hear the findings. This research, which is going to be bi-communal for the time being, we just completed the leg that concerns Greek Cypriot point of view on management of resources, energy resources in the Eastern Mediterranean, and possible collaboration between different countries. So it's in relation to what we hear discussed publicly about, GSI, EastMed some years ago, about the solar panel in the buffer zone. So we want essentially to understand what are the views of people, how much acceptance is there for all these various projects, identify possible differences in how they approach these possible collaborators, countries, and better understand the possibilities of actually implementing these projects as confidence-building measures. Specifically, what we try to do is we, with some colleagues, Neophytos Loizidis, who is a professor in the University of Warwick, International Relations and Conflict Resolution, Edward Morgan-Jones in Kent University, Laura Sudulic, Essex University, and two postdoctoral researchers in my university, the University of Cyprus, Andreas Michail and Nikandros Ioannidis. What we tried to do was to use a method called conjoint analysis, adding the element of energy collaboration. So let me explain very briefly what this is, because I think it's important to get the picture. So what you do in conjoint analysis is you give people the option of choosing between possible peace packages, varying the dimensions of the Gutiérrez framework under different options. So for example, what about security? We have these 3 or 4 options. What about territorial issues? What about compensation? So what we did in this last research, we added the element of energy projects and collaboration between possible countries in how these might become part of a peace package. So now, what we have in front of us is a lot of research evidence about the acceptance of possible packages, peace packages, that include variations of these possible collaborations. And yes, what we found was exactly that as a standalone measure of confidence building, the solar panel is the most highly accepted measure of all these. So that's very important. That's for Greek Cypriots, and now we expect the findings very soon in 1 month's time from Turkish Cypriots also. We also found that a very interesting finding, that collaboration between Cyprus, the Republic of Cyprus, and Turkey might be resisted before a solution, but actually if you have it as part of a solution, energy collaboration with Turkey, actually it's at very high acceptable levels, 65%. And I think that's really important because, when you discuss, for example, the possibility in the south of Cyprus collaborating with Turkey on an energy project, you usually get a lot of resistance by the majority. But what about if this kind of collaboration actually comes at the same time with the solution of the Cyprus problem? So as part of a peace package. I think that would be actually a game changer, because what we find here is that if you add that particular measure of the solar panel and collaboration with Turkey on energy issues, actually the percentage of acceptance is very high as part of a solution. So I think this is a really key political message. And it shows, because Michel, you asked also the question, how do you interpret this finding? I think specifically the solar panel idea attracts 2 different audiences. It attracts those in favor of a solution more generally, but it also attracts people with environmental sensitivities. And usually they tend to go hand in hand also, by the way, which is also an interesting finding. But beyond that, beyond the overlap, you get a lot of acceptance because it somehow manages to combine the economic benefit, as you rightly talked about earlier, with a very feasible confidence-building measure that will also benefit the pockets of every citizen on the island, I think, across the divide. So I think that's really an important message, and I hope that the research evidence will also be quite approving in the Turkish Cypriot community. We will know very soon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Psaltis. Now, I will ask the same question to our panelists, and I will comment on that question myself at the end. So, Mr. Toros, as you know, the Commission's proposal for a bi-communal solar power plant in the buffer zone is now one of the confidence-building measures being discussed in the framework of the UN talks. This project in itself is very technical because it is a solar power plant and it's electricity at the end. But negotiations are mostly political. Bearing in mind that we are in Cyprus and that the Cyprus problem is complex in itself, how can we marry technical requirements with political considerations to have a performing project?
$1 million question. The solar park project is technical in itself, but trying to put it into implementation is heavily and politically charged, as we know. So the execution of the project, contrary to the development of it, is extremely political. So under the ongoing political climate on the island, this is precisely why it's very important to demonstrate that technical collaboration can inspire further collaboration, both at political level as well as at communal level, at the level of trust building between the two communities. And not to mention, of course, further rapprochement. First, this particular project, developed by the European Union, must be anchored in technical viability and excellence. We have information, and we have reasons to believe that the way the project has been developed is actually most up to date, and it is integrated with storage facilities as well. So we're encouraged by that. But mindful of the fact that technology is far more volatile than most of us can catch up, it's very important that technical viability coupled with excellence is taken into account. This means that ensuring that the design, the engineering, the grid integration behind it, and maintenance plan fully complies with all relevant EU standards. Clear technical benchmarks make the project credible and will naturally reduce the likelihood of suspicion or skepticism or even disputes. When both communities see a project that is professionally planned and delivers results, it will earn confidence. Technical clarity enhances political leverage, signals that cooperation is serious, transparent, and aim-oriented. Secondly, political considerations must be embedded at the beginning. In Cyprus, even a seemingly neutral technical project carries considerable political weight. Questions of ownership, governance, revenue sharing, and security must all be negotiated transparently, in good faith, and in line with principles associated with equitability. Both communities must feel their rights, responsibilities, and mutual interests are respected and honored. By creating a joint decision-making body and co-management structure, we can transform this technical coordination into a model of intercommunal governance. Thirdly, the project must emphasize shared benefits and visibility. Solar power is more than just electrons. It's a tool for demonstrating tangible advantages of synergy, which is essential what federal partnership is all about. When both communities experience reliable electricity, cost savings, and environmental improvement, it reinforces a very strong political message, and that is federal partnership is not abstract. It is practical and mutually rewarding. Fourthly, timing and sequencing are of key importance. Technical milestones such as construction phases, grid connections, and monitoring can be mapped to political confidence building. Visible successes within a sense of urgency help create momentum, mitigate suspicion, and allow negotiators to focus on more sensitive political issues in parallel. And finally, the European Union's support provides a neutral framework that blends technical funding, expertise, and oversight with political legitimacy. This ensures the project is not seen as biased towards one particular side, and that both communities feel equally invested. In conclusion, marrying technical and political considerations is not about separating them. It is about designing the technical project in ways that respect political sensitivities and the utilization of political mechanisms aimed at ensuring optimal technical performance. When done correctly, the Bi-Communal solar park will become more than an energy facility. It will become a living confidence-building measure, proving that cooperation can work in practice and not remain in words. Finally, I would like to draw your attention that solar park investments are directly interlinked with electricity interconnection projects between countries. We are aware that the Great Sea Interconnector, originally connecting Israel, Cyprus, and Greece, is going through huge discussions, huge disputes, and raising a lot of questions. It has been proven by independent authorities, people who have made analytic studies, that this project can only become technically, economically, commercially, and politically viable if it is connected between Cyprus and Turkey as opposed to Cyprus and Greece. It is for this reason that we need to devise this project or reshape it as appropriate so that it actually incentivizes further investments in solar power plants, in addition to the one that we have been discussing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toros. Just mindful of the time, I will ask Dr. Psaltis the same question.
Yeah, thank you, Michel. I will be very short, actually, so we save time for discussion because I realize we only have 5 minutes. I must add the qualitative development of the research I mentioned earlier, which was about a focus group discussion about green transition in the South. And what came out of this discussion was very clear. There needs to be transparency in these projects because almost everybody was very skeptical of politicians trying to make money out of these kind of projects. So because you ask what is the crucial element, I think this is the crucial element. There needs to be transparency, and so that everybody knows that there is nobody trying to make money out of these projects. So through transparency and democratic processes, I think this will be a very successful project, as long, of course, that there is political will, because that's the other part of the element. To be honest, now I think there is no political will. But we will see very soon whether there's going to be any change in that. But let me add also something, another point here. I think it's a shame that we lost Professor Kairidis from Greece on this, because he would explain to us the benefits of the express visa scheme of Turkish citizens getting a 7-day visa to visit Greek islands. If you think about it, that seems like a very daring project, but now I think they are on the second year of this project being implemented, and it created 80 million revenue for all these 5-6 islands on the Aegean. I think this is exactly the kind of mentality we need here in Cyprus. This is political will combined with financial benefit. If we manage to get this in our heads and we need political will, I think everything will go very, very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions if there are from the audience. No? Okay, well, just to thank you all for being here, for coming. Yes.
I think we have a few more minutes, and maybe people can come up with a few questions so that we make it a bit more interactive. That's the idea of the Cyprus Forum. How do you see things? Maybe Mr. Toros can answer this. After a positive result for your party after the elections in the 20th of October. Is this in your priorities?
It is a renowned fact that Mr. Tufan Erhürman, the leader of my party and our presidential candidate at the moment, has a very unwavered commitment to a comprehensive settlement of the Cyprus issue in full line with all relevant UN Security Council resolutions and parameters. And it is with this vision that we have been working very closely together to develop a series of different methods that will take us to a point of no return at the next round of negotiations, which need to be devised as the final mile of the settlement process. We are aware of the very, very strong role that confidence-building measures can play. Our past performance in recent years, in past peace processes and negotiations, show very clearly that implementation of confidence-building measures has changed the political ground on the island, conducive for progress at the negotiation table. So our priority will be to see how we can overcome the ongoing impasse that has been prevailing since 2017. Secondly, to engage into very detailed and very comprehensive dialogue with all our interlocutors in order to introduce added methods to the UN-led negotiations, so that this time we don't only resume negotiations, but we make sure we finalize them, we ensure that they are conclusive negotiations. And with this vision, we will dwell on the implementation of the confidence-building measures, and we will not keep them confined to the 6 measures agreed upon at the 2 broadened meetings recently. We do believe that confidence building must not be confined to intercommunal projects between the 2 Cypriot communities, but they must also cover interests of the 3 guarantors as well. We are all aware that no progress can be expected, no comprehensive political agreement can be possible without the consent of the guarantors too. So it's equally important to incentivize all parties concerned so that we can attain the much needed simultaneous political will to finalize the peace building process. Thank you.
Yes, there is another question. Yes.
Thank you. Hi. We have been talking about how this project can be a confidence-building measure for the communities to come together. And yet we've listed other initiatives that have been in the past that we thought will build that confidence to get us there. So I'd like to ask you, how do we see this project to actually maybe take us off the ground of the stagnated position we are as two communities? Do we think that that's because it's energy, or do we maybe have some questions around maybe this will be done and then we'll stay where we are?
I think I can answer that question and outline a little bit what our thinking was. So there are many examples in the island that exist right now about confidence-building measures that basically nobody notices. Mr. Toros mentioned them before, the Miamilia wastewater treatment plant, the interconnection of the grids, and so on. Are all these projects, are all these initiatives perfect? No. Do they have problems? Yes. Are these problems sometimes difficult? Yes, but the collaboration exists. And the collaboration is something that is hardly on the news. People don't necessarily know the details. It's almost kind of like kept in secret, just so that it can keep going. So, of course, I cannot speak on behalf of the European Commission, but I can tell you that for me personally and for many people that I work with, having a solar power plant that is bi-communal is of essence. The fact that it's solar, it's because Cyprus is, you know, a sunny country. It could have been any other project, but the fact that it's bi-communal has to be at its heart, because you can build a solar power plant anywhere else in Cyprus. You can build it in Paphos. You can build it in Kairidis. It's a solar power plant. It gives energy. It exists. You can buy it even on the market. But you cannot buy a bi-communal solar power plant. For that, you need the two communities to say, I want to do this. It's a common project. I'm an engineer, and I've, by accident, ended up here in Cyprus dealing with bi-communal stuff. But for me, any engineering project requires two things. One of them is trust. One is trust. If you are going to build a refinery, or if you are going to, you know, build I don't know, a factory, you need trust. Someone is going to give you the money, someone is going to do the job, someone is going to actually make it run. So if there is no trust, no one will ever start a project. So it's a key component. And another one, it's risk. You know, no one has 100% certainty that that project will be successful in every single aspect of it. So it is what we want, as I believe, as European Commission, is to see the two communities taking that leap together and saying, I want to do this because I want to see if I will be able to live together the day after. And by doing that, you will see that, or we hope to see, that the benefits are so important that whatever differences may exist start becoming less important. Will this bring complete settlement of the Cyprus problem? I doubt, but nevertheless it's a step forward. It's better than not having anything.
May I contribute just very briefly? The European Union has set its targets, zero emission by 2050. Cyprus as a whole is a member state, and Cyprus as a whole is very far behind that target. Unless there is simultaneous political will to perceive this as an obligation rather than a choice, okay? We're not going to get anywhere close to that target. And this will jeopardize the credibility of the whole island as a full-fledged member state. So we desperately need two political leaders who have simultaneous political will and who share the same common vision towards this goal, not to mention all other responsibilities that are lying idle ever since the Crown Montana Conference.
I have another question. My question goes mostly to Mr. Psaltis. It's a bit out of topic, but I would like to ask how the rise of far right affect this process on both sides, basically. We can see that, I know that to affect the process and the rise of far right all over Europe, but particularly in Cyprus, if there are any statistics or research about that. So yes.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question, although it is a bit off topic, but let me tackle it very quickly. Okay, I mean, we know from research and some polling that Elam is expected to do relatively well in these elections. I mean, maybe 12 or 13, somewhere 14%, which is too high for an extreme right-wing organization, of course. And of course, it's something to really reflect on as a Greek Cypriot community, why we have this increase. But I would say that from the researcher's point of view, who studies the views of people from representative samples in both communities, I would say that the views, the extreme views on the Cyprus issue are actually even higher than Elam. But this is not a reason to be afraid of trying to reach a solution. Because, let me be more specific, the people who have like extreme views about how to solve the problem might be around 20% in the Greek Cypriot community. But that overlooks the fact that 80% actually, under some conditions, could actually support the solution. And just to give you an idea, if you ask a very specific question about federation, which is, would you accept federation? Would you reject federation? Or would you accept it as a solution that you could live with or you tolerate, you know, if needed? Huh? So what you find that if you ask this question is that after Crown Montana, every year there is a 5 to 6% increase in the percentage of people who accept federation, either because they like it, clearly, or because they find it a solution of compromise. And the percentage of people who belong in these two categories today on federation is actually 80%, 8-0. Just after Crown Montana, it was about 65%. So every year we have an increase, and we are now up to 80%. So what does that tell you? That people actually in the South are becoming more ready for a solution on the basis of federation. So you have to keep this in perspective when you discuss the rise of the extreme right. It is, of course, an issue of people, everybody should be worried about that, but we should not lose sight of that other positive finding also.
Sure. So may I have another question to probably both the speakers? We all know that so far the efforts to co-exploit the natural resources of Cyprus have failed in regards to the natural gas reserves which have been found across the coast of Cyprus by both the Republic of Cyprus and in the north. But so far, unfortunately, all the efforts for an exploitation or a co-exploitation by those resources have been unsuccessful. The drillings happened, the natural gas reserves are being found, and I think a couple of days or less than a week ago there was a piece of news that actually a big new amount of natural gas has been found, not so far from the coast of Cyprus. So do you think that also this aspect of energy and the co-exploitation of the natural resources in regard to the natural gas by both communities would actually be a very good catalyzer for confidence building and for the prosperity which would be shared equally by both communities if those resources are being co-exploited?
Just to add, that was the main most crucial research finding that I mentioned earlier, that as part of a peace package, regional cooperation of countries around the Eastern Mediterranean is actually a very welcome development. And I think the political will is there to put this in the equation together. I think this might be the solution of the problem.
The natural gas resources that have been explored in 3 different exclusive economic zones in the region have been proven to benefit all neighboring countries, provided that the resources are joint in a network and pumped to Turkey, which is the country closest to the island of Cyprus, whereby it can be liquidified and marketed to markets exceeding to Western Europe, as you know. The obstacle, the impediment in front of this project is the reflections of the Cyprus problem on maritime jurisdiction areas surrounding Cyprus. And this disputed maritime jurisdiction areas is obviously preventing the implementation of such a regional project. And this is why resources explored in one particular exclusive economic zone is not sufficient to realize this regional project, but only to provide a certain amount of domestic needs of one particular country. So the answer to your question is again very much connected to the simultaneous political will that is absolutely imperative for progress on the remaining mile of the peace-building process. And if this is accomplished, then it will naturally enable negotiations over delimitation of these disputed maritime areas, which will enable this regional project that has been pending since 2010, to the best of my recollection.
Okay, I think that now the organizers are really telling us to finish. So I just want to thank the audience for being here, for the questions, thanking our speakers, and have a good evening.